Our next presentation is Loyalty 2.0, Creating Reward Programs. We have two speakers, April Tomlin, Global Retail Lead CX Advisory, and Constance de Polignac, Global Customer Experience Advisor for SAP. April, the podium is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I wanted to quickly give you all a little bit more background on Constance and I to add some context to the expertise that we're going to be sharing with you today. So Constance and I both come directly from retail and CPG backgrounds, having been accountable to P&Ls and having done some of the same things ourselves that we're speaking with you about today. And we come from retail organizations like Sephora and Sports Authority, as well as CPG orgs like Unilever and brands like L'Oreal. Our specialties are in customer experience overall, user experience, designing and executing ideal customer journeys, loyalty and customer databases, of course, as we're chatting with you about that today, marketing analytics, and so on. But today, we're here to talk about a renewed look at loyalty, proper customer database strategies, the critical pillars of loyalty programs, and finally, how to measure your program to ensure it's driving incremental business and is profitable. So we wanted to start off the session first and foremost by highlighting the journey that loyalty has been on, right? It's been a long road, and also to highlight where we are today. So in the past, loyalty programs were entirely focused on sales transactions, really backed up by transactional and first-party data. And this was a time where retailers and CPG brands were super reactive, right? Segmentation was being done by humans, which also introduced bias, and one-to-one targeting and personalization just weren't possible. And then came the age of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, which was also the age of digital and e-commerce that we've all grown to know and love. So during this age, so much more was possible, right? But loyalty pretty much fell out of focus. Big data and live data analysis, came to center stage. Segmentation began to be driven by AI and became agnostic. And predictive marketing took shape along with things like lookalike audiences and the ability to truly anticipate customers' needs. But businesses were mostly focused around creating consistency across channels. There were certainly challenges here too, right? Digital exploded, causing more customer volatility. There was more relevant data to choose from and analyze than ever. And because of this, it was extremely challenging and difficult to get organizations aligned and marching towards the same goals. So now we're in the new age of loyalty, which we have deemed Loyalty 2.0. And this is an era where we're really able to leverage all of the great new tools and processes from the age of digital with a new and improved focus on loyalty. So certainly have not forgotten that digital competition has gotten more fierce. The cost of acquiring new customers has skyrocketed, right? We don't expect for these trends to change. And so it's become absolutely essential to effectively engage with customers and form long-lasting, personalized relationships with them to drive retention. And finally, and most importantly, what we've learned is that a fully engaged customer who creates additional value through interacting with your brand across multiple channels, and particularly in social media, with a lifetime value of, for example, $300, is worth far more than a non-engaged customer with a lifetime value of about $800. So what can or should loyalty programs mean to your brand or organization? So mass and luxury brands alike generally leverage retail programs for the same types of reasons, right? We want to increase our sales. We want to better understand and retain our customers. We want to optimize our processes. We want to more strategically communicate with our customers. And lastly, we want to anticipate and predict their needs. But what should critically set various programs apart is the clear alignment of the program to the brand's DNA, as well as the appropriate sector and sub-industry dynamics. So with that, I am going to kick it over to Constance to talk a little bit about proper customer database strategies.
Thank you, April. What you see on your screen is a standard segmentation of a customer database and its associated value. As you can see, the clients in the top 10% generate from 45 to 50% of total card. And on the bottom side of the triangle, you have dormant customers, which in the case of a mature customer database represent normally 35% of total card holders, with obviously no sales attached. Now, let's go for your first poll. According to you, what loyalty member segment should you focus on to make the biggest financial impact of your loyalty program? Waiting for your answers. So we have top 10. We can also go vote for middle 20%, middle 30% segments, lower 40% of the segments, and active clients, top 30% or middle 50%. Okay. As we can see from your results, we can see that you have different answers, from people thinking that we should focus on top 10 or middle 20, middle 30%. Well, the answer is that in a loyalty program, it should be set up to increase revenue on the middle segments, which represent 50% of active customers. Why? Well, because they are the ones that will most generate incremental revenues with adequate stimulation, and I will walk you through that later on. Focusing on increasing the top segment revenue is often a mistake that people do, because think about it. When you are on top of a mountain, you cannot go higher. Efforts should be done on maintaining engagement and sales, but putting in forth effort into increasing it will not generate strong growth or impact. Another important point, you have on the right an inverted triangle representing generated sales. This value decomposition is also valid for customer brand engagement, which can be leveraged through relational and third-party data. This, in fact, as April said, is the new challenge of loyalty programs, engaging on a relational-based segmentation. So now let's do a second poll. I would like to know, according to you, when you analyze your clients' key metrics, what metrics should you use to best represent customer behavior on an annual basis? Should you focus on the average annual sales of your customer, or should you be focusing on the median annual sales per customer? Well, I can see that everybody has answered, almost everybody has answered median annual sales. Let me show you that, the difference between median and average. In fact, the correct answer is that you should always look at the median KPIs when you're looking at your consumer consumption. Why? Because the top 10% that I have previously shown you completely mess up your customers' KPIs, and in consequence, where you position your loyalty program benefits. In fact, loyalty program benefits should be set up so that the middle segment customer receives at least one tangible benefit per year. Otherwise, he will not perceive the reality of your loyalty program. If you go for average sales, you would, in this example, set the benefit at a $350 threshold. Let me show you now, but when you focus on the median, what happens. Here, you can see that the median sale, average sales, would be around $160. Well, that's basically $200 difference from the average sales. This means that if you focus on average sales, your average customer would have to buy for 2.5 years before seeing any loyalty recognition. And that's much too long to get a proof of love. Using the same logic, coupons and cashback validity should be set with a slightly lower validity date than the natural median, again here, median in between repeat purchase to drive frequency. In this example, the coupon should be set with a validity date of 60 days, 2 months, and not of 50 days. So this is, I think, something that we always should analyze, is going for the median KPI of your database. Now, April, can you walk us through what makes a loyalty program efficient?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Constance. So now that we've covered the customer database strategy, let's discuss the 3 critical pillars of successful loyalty programs. So first and foremost, right, transactional, functional, and emotional benefits should all be present and work in complementary ways to build loyalty in a simple, generous, and consistent manner. Remember that your customers will react to various benefits differently based on their current state of mind, right? And each is meant to deliver something very specific to your brand. Of course, right, your capacity to reach out to your customers to continuously communicate about the program and its benefits is a critical success factor. So you should have, if you have a loyalty program, right, some sort of dashboard that breaks down your contact channel availability per customer segment. And note, right, if you don't effectively communicate the benefits of your program, they're not known and they might as well not exist at all. Okay, so back to the 3 critical pillars of any loyalty program. So first, we've got transactional benefits, which are intended to drive frequency for your customers. Functional benefits, which are intended to drive brand recognition. And the right emotional, community, and CSR benefits are intended to drive brand preference. So let's dig into transactional benefits a little bit more, right? And this is an area where generally some brands and organizations incorrectly focus a majority of their efforts when building out a program. And so we've got program basics and stimulated offers within this arena, and we're going to talk a little bit about each. So program basics are the benefits that should be the exact same for all tiers of your customers, right? They should be very easy to understand and directly linked to customer behavior. For example, right, if I'm a customer, every $160 spent, which would be the median, right, I get $10 off my order. And this would be, on a points basis where every point is $1, for example. A quick tip here, don't give higher basic benefits to your best customers, right? This only impacts your margin. It does not increase frequency or median sales overall. So for your best customers, you're really going to want to focus your efforts and energy through the other 2 pillars that we're going to talk about here in a moment. And also note that points can be given for a number of different behaviors here. We're not necessarily even saying that all points need to be tied to a transaction. They could be tied to leaving, a product review, for example. So then we have stimulated offers, which are different in nature because they're strategic, right? These are specific targeted benefits to a specific targeted audience that are tied directly to customer behavior. So an example of this would be extending a special offer to a defined customer segment that's not buying a specific category of product currently, which you as a marketer know is critical to your business and your organization overall, right? So you're strategically prompting your customers to live the lives you want for them to live. It's important, again, that the offers are driven off of the median for your specific segments and that they're not automatically given, right, but instead voluntarily redeemed by the customer, right? This is extremely important. And last note on your transactional benefits is that they should really take the place of the majority of your sale events outside of huge events like semi-annual sales that would generally happen, at least in retail in the summer and winter. So you're really hoping to get more loyalty members into your base by focusing your efforts, your promotional efforts through your loyalty program, right? So in order to participate in other sale events, you should be a loyalty member. All right, let's talk a little bit about functional benefits. So functional benefits should really drive and do drive the highest brand loyalty and advocacy, and therefore brand recognition. This is because functional benefits are linked directly to individual status and/or tier. Announced benefits should resolve known customer pain points first and foremost. So an example of this would be free shipping for all of your loyalty members and an express checkout lane in store for your top tier of customers when you might know you get long checkout lines, for example. We would even go so far as to recommend that you take all of your known customer pain points, right, recognize them, list them out, and then decide who you're going to give certain benefits to and to resolve these pain points. And we'll show you an example of what that looks like shortly. Surprise benefits, on the other hand, are thought of as money can't buy advantages that really cater to only a happy few customers, right? We're talking, 1% to 10% of your customers at most. And this is because they're a heavy lift from a cost and resource perspective, but bring very strong customer advocacy. And when we say 1 to 10%, we're talking about, it's not abnormal to only extend certain very high value benefits to a very small subset of your customers. An example of this would be free sampling of possible new products at an exclusive in-store event. So although surprise benefits are resource heavy to execute, they're well worth it because they provide you as a brand quality time with your expert customers who are generally very eager to engage and provide qualitative feedback and sometimes uncover unknown pain points, right? Things that you just were not aware of in your business. For store events specifically, a best practice is to provide corporate guidelines on what that event should look like, but let the stores organize them themselves, right? Because they're the experts on their region and their specific customer base. Awesome. Okay, so emotional and community, corporate and social responsibility benefits, right? So these benefits deliver brand preference by helping you build an emotional relationship with your customers through connecting with his or her values. So personal and emotional benefits really should vary depending on your customer status or tier, but should be given with no constraints, right? Not tied to a transaction at all. For example, right, your birthday gift is waiting for you, no strings attached. And this type of no strings attached execution in direct relation to this type of benefit are certainly more effective and lead to a higher transformation rate and thus a better emotional connection with your customer. Community and CSR benefits should have a very clear link to your brand's DNA and remain very visible throughout all of your loyalty communications because they're part of a long-term investment in your customers. An example of this would be giving customers the opportunity to transfer points balances into charity donations at a specific threshold. In the case of this, our recommendation is to only allow this when a client or a customer has attained a threshold. For example, right, the median annual sales per customer, and then allowing him or her to gift the contribution to mark the achievement, right? It has to be kind of a willful act in order for them to recognize the benefit of this. A quick couple other notes here, right? Give customers a few options of charities to choose from, not just one, but all should certainly be aligned to your brand's DNA. And track both the individual customers' contributions and the global contributions of the program, right? And show this up front, show the individual's total historical contribution versus just a short period of time so they understand over the length of your relationship how much they might have donated. A really great way to do this is to show this through meter type visuals. So let's show some visual examples of what some of these things look like. So here's a really great example of a department store actually in France with a tiered program outlining their benefits. So we've got their program basics, which are the same for all tiers, really defined very clearly and outlined here. We have their status recognition. This is a 3-tiered program with privilege being the highest status. And then we've got their functional benefits on the right-hand side, and they're clearly listing their customer pain points and resolving these pain points, right? So they've got valet parking, private styling sessions, and free express delivery for a specific tier of their customers. So this is a very clear example of functional benefits, basics, and recognition in play. All right, so let's go to another best practice. So Sephora is very well known, right, for their loyalty program, and we can all thank Constance for that. She actually launched this program in France as the CMO. So hopefully you guys are thinking about a lot of really great questions to ask her at the end here. But here we have Sephora so clearly understanding how important these 3 pillars are, right? They have actually separated them out in their benefits explanation. So we've got their transactional benefits listed on the left-hand side here. You can see Beauty Insider Cash being one of their basic benefits that is the same for all of their various tiers, right? We also have their emotional benefits in the upper right, driving brand preference. They're giving free birthday gifts to all of their different customers, right? No strings attached. And they've got exclusive gifts for their top 2 tiers as well. And then they have their functional benefits, driving and solving to customer pain points in the bottom right. I think I said left, but it's right. So we've got meet and greets for all of the different customers, and then we also have things like exclusive events and first access to different products for some of their best customers and best tiers. So hopefully this very clearly highlights the 3 critical pillars. With that, I am going to hand it back over to Constance to clarify whether all loyalty programs really should be tiered or not.
Thanks, April. So one last poll. Should, as April asked you, all loyalty programs be tiered in nature? Very simple. Yes or no? Go for it.
Interesting. All
yes,
right.
Very interesting. Okay, so we have a definite majority of yeses. Actually, the belief is that, in fact, tiered programs are not a must-have. You definitely should go for tiered programs only if you tick the 4 following criteria. It should be coherent with your brand DNA. Typically, it doesn't make sense for mass market brands to have tiered programs, but it does for LVMH, for Tiffany's, and for Sephora. Your customer segments show strong disparities. A good example would be that instead of having that top 10% generating those 50% of the sales, it would be top 5% or even top 2% generating that 50% of the sales. And custom airline companies do have tiered programs for that reason specifically. Also, third criteria is that you have a significant loyalty team, good tools that can manage the additional complexity and investments required by annual upgrades and downgrades, because you have to plan this ahead. It does take bandwidth, and it does take complex execution and understanding of all the systems. Last point, you consider that loyalty is a strategic asset and that you are investing strongly, because the reality is that tiered programs do require more investment, communication of the tiers, and also of the upgrade and the downgrade program. As I just said, loyalty programs are an investment, and as all investment, they should be measured to be optimized. I will walk you through 3 measurements that I consider completely must-have. They're not very sophisticated measurements, but they're drastically efficient. The first one is simply measuring the perceived value of your loyalty program by your customers. The loyalty program impact depends on the client's perceived value and interest in using it. If the loyalty program is perceived as less generous than competition, then it will not generate brand preference. And ratios below 60% of the answer are considered as non-satisfactory. So action plans should be set up. Here you have examples of typical questions you can ask for that kind of survey. That type of measurement should be done ideally twice a year and should generate action plans such as, for retail, for example, employee training for a better enhancements of loyalty program, increase in store and digital visibility, change of outgoing communication, upgrade of program. This is very important because this survey can also be coupled with a survey detailing all the benefits and asking to the client, does the customer know the benefit? Does the customer find the benefit appealing? And those surveys can be put out to the card holders, but also to your clients that are non-card holders. Remember, as April told you, a non-perceived benefit is a lost investment. It does not exist in the customer's mind, and so it does not have an impact on the sales or the lifetime value of the customer. The second key measurement is understanding how your client's value evolves in time. This measurement method is based on what we call a transition matrix, and so shows the evolution of each customer segment versus previous year. For this matrix, customer segments are done on a basic RFM segmentation, which is a segmentation based on recency, frequency, and average basket. This is not a segmentation that is used for targeting. However, it's a segmentation that is used to understand how clients' value evolve in time. So how do you read this graph? You have on the left column your macro customer segments as they were positioned on November 1st, 2019. On the right part here, you have on the same segments as the clients are positioned on November 1st, 2020. This allows you to understand the change, increase or decrease of customer value versus previous year. For example, in November 2019, I had 100 addicts. 1 year down the road, those same clients have become, so 47 have remained addicts, 30% have gone down one level and became regular clients. 19% have gone down 2 levels and become occasional clients, and 4% have gone from being an addict to an inactive status. And this obviously is done for each segment. This allows you to see how customers evolve in time, and in this example you can see that basically there's a big increase in the regular segment and the occasional segment. On the left part of the chart, we put here what is the migration norm of each segment. One point, however, more than the norm, what is most important is benchmarking this each year and understanding how it has changed versus previous year. The transition matrix is key to do a diagnosis on a client database hot topic, i.e. to drill down to understand what is going on and why. In this example, the reason why the top segment value decreased is it linked to a decrease of consumption of a certain type of product. Did they stop buying a certain type of product, for example, sweaters or lipsticks? If so, what action plan should be taken? It doesn't have to be a loyalty action plan. It can be also a product action plan. Should we change the product? Should we lower the price? Should we communicate better? So this transaction matrix really allows you to understand what is going on for your customer and implement action plans that impact the whole company. The last And third, key measurement of a loyalty program is measuring your loyalty program profitability. This is done by comparing activity and sales of your cardholders with control groups. What are control groups? They're cardholders that are excluded from any outgoing loyalty stimulation, email, SMS, push notifications. Apart from the fact that they do not receive any outgoing information from your loyalty program, they have the exact same characteristics as the other cardholders. The only thing that differs is this stimulation. Through this A/B testing, you can measure what your loyalty program brings. This should be done on a 6-month period, twice a year. In my example here, you can see that you have a 20,000 cardholder control group, and you have the rest of your cardholder that are that can receive stimulation, i.e., in this example, 7.2 million clients. By doing this, you will be able to see what incremental you generated through correct stimulation, i.e., did you stimulate with the correct offer? Did you send out the correct message through the correct channels with the correct frequency? Enough customers. Of course, all customers, as April pointed out, will not receive and did not receive the same stimulation. This depends on where they stand in your customer database triangle. However, this is showing you if what you've done for 6 months overall has an impact on the sales you are able to generate through your loyalty program as a whole. So it's measured by analyzing stimulation impact on 3 criteria. First criteria is the activity rate impact. This is here in orange in the slide, i.e., is my cardholder doing a transaction within that 6-month time period? Here you can see that the stimulated customers have a higher activity rate. Almost 51% of them have been active, compared to 49.5% for the control group. This is a 1.4 delta. That delta of 1.4 actually translates into having an additional activity for 1,500 customers that remain active and did a transaction, at least one transaction, during that 6 time period because they were stimulated. Because stimulation actually brings your brand to top of mind to the customer and generates an action. The second key measurement is the sales impact, in blue in the slide, i.e., how many transactions is each customer doing during that time period. Here you can see that the stimulated cardholders spend an average of $3.6 more than the control group because of increased frequency. And they generate a margin per customer increase of 1.1 because actually the margin ratio of stimulated customers is slightly lower than the one for the semestral control group because these guys have been receiving the targeted offer that April has spoken to you about. Obviously, you need to subtract from the benefits that were generated through the activity and the sales, additional sales impact. You have to subtract all your costs. So the cost of sending out SMS, paper mailings, gifts, anything that was linked to that stimulation of your loyal customer during that 6-month time period. One key point of that measurement is that you can see that loyalty program impacts essentially activity rate and frequency of purchase. It is very difficult, either in the long term or the short term, to impact significantly average basket. The last key measurement, all this measurements add up to giving you the additional net sales that you were able to generate through that loyalty program. It actually here is of an incremental of $20.7 million during that 6-month time period and an additional margin of $7.2 million So that was just generated because you stimulated your customer database during that 6-time period. So per customer, it is only, I would say, $2.9 of incremental sales and $0.1 of additional margin. But when you multiply that by the volume of your database, this is why you get such high number. And I don't think many companies right now during those COVID times could sit down on a 21 million euros incremental just over 6 months because they were able to stimulate correctly their database. So this is very important because it allows you to drive your sales and really to have an incremental that is measured and that is CFO proofed. Definitely, I've shown you an example of a 6-month time period evaluation of the incremental generated, but it is also best practice to do that for each stimulated offer to understand if that specific offer generated an incremental in sales and purchase or not. And that is also a very good way to start doing better and more efficient actions. Now, in order to have an impactful loyalty program, i.e. increasing customer lifetime value and company sales, which is obviously the winning combination here, a loyalty program has to check 4 criteria. It should be very simple to understand for the customer and generous. Don't make it too complicated or too restrictive, and providing a real unique selling proposition. It should also be aligned with your DNA and consistent and visible with experience on all touch points. Also, it obviously has to be data-driven. And we speak about data, it's not only transactional data, it's also relational data, and have a good segmentation and a good activation. Last point, it has to be meaningful to the customer. This is very important for all of the customers and specifically for Gen Z customers or even other generations. Remember those 3 pillars that April spoke to you about, and also be measured properly. If not, either you will fall in the promotional loyalty trap here, or because you will just be generating short-term increase of sales but not driving customer lifetime value engagement, or you can fall in another trap, which is the small impact trap, which is here over-focusing on your top-tier customers or on a too short sampling of your customer database. Or worse, the no-impact trap, i.e. here, because it's not supported by the organization, it's not understood, it's not built correctly, it's not monitored, and basically it's just spending money for no impact. So on this last slide, we wanted to walk you through the key points that we spoke about today to use as a checklist, just to make sure that this recap is, you can go away with it. Remember, just go for the middle segment increase. Focus on median KPIs to set your benefits, and remember that one customer, median customer, should have a visible benefit after an average, annual sales. Provide 3 types of benefits, all complementary and building your brand's equity. So the 3 pillars. Make your benefits visible for the customers and voluntarily redeem. Measure your loyalty program's perception by your clients, even by non-card holders. Analyze how your customer evolves in time and set up corrective action plans. Measure generated incrementality. With all those 7 key points, you will have a very impactful and value-creating loyalty program. So thank you for your attention. We're moving on to any question you might have, and April and I are very happy to answer them.
Yes, April and Constance, we've got a couple of questions. One, how can third-party data impact your loyalty program?
Well, it can, because if you understand that your customer is not buying a segment, one type of a segment from your company, but that you know that he's buying it from another company, you know that there is an opportunity for you to target him on that segment. So definitely you would take that new information into account and really focus on trying to win him over to him buying this product or this segment or this category within your company. Other types of third-party data would be around understanding that your customer is very active on social network, and that definitely would, as April said, position him in a very high tier value because he is engaging and being an advocate of your brand. So many different topics, but basically third-party data allows you to understand where opportunities for your loyalty program stand within your company.
Okay, next question. This is a basic question. Aren't loyalty programs a tool from the past? Question mark.
Well,
I don't think so. Constance, do you think?
Maybe that's somebody new to CPG and retail, huh?
Well, they might have been considered 5 years ago as something from the past, as everybody was going for digital and real-time and automation. I think now the key focus on loyalty program is how do you engage better with your clients? How do you engage on not only transactional data, but also on relational data? And how do you make it all happen in a seamless ecosystem? And how do you recognize his engagement? So my belief is that it is very important, and that it is even more important as new Gen Z customers just go for new digital ways of communicating with your brands. And if you're not able to understand how and what they want from you and not just the transactional data that they are giving you, then you will just not be able to bond with them. So no, loyalty programs are very important and can have a huge impact if you do them well.
Yeah, and I would say, even to expand upon that, I'm sure, everybody on the line here has been part of an organization where their loyalty program was not a strategic asset, right? So retail, as Constance has mentioned, 5 years ago, we were very focused on some of the program basics, right? And some of the, I would say, like higher lift, resource heavy types of events, but it wasn't a topic of discussion in every one of our WBRs, our weekly business review meetings. Like, it took a back seat, and that's when loyalty becomes people start thinking about loyalty as though it is something from the past. But when you're able to get the right organizational alignment and power and influence behind it, and get your C-levels on the same page as far as how important it is, that's when loyalty really begins to become a strategic asset and be super important to your organization. So that's my perspective.
And I think loyalty, just to add on what April is saying, loyalty allows you to understand what's going on through your customer database. So it is one thing it is to stimulate your clients and to drive incremental. Another one is that it provides you great value because of that data analysis and understanding what's going on within your customer, even though it's not necessarily linked to loyalty actions, but understanding that your best customers are just dropping out because basically your sweaters are not they're not buying them anymore, then you understand that you have to take a dramatic action on your sweaters. And that is seen very well through those customer database analysis. You can't see it otherwise through sales, but having it customer focused is very impactful.
Okay, next question. How should the value to companies and customers of experiential benefits best be measured?
Okay. Well, basically what you want to look at is customer lifetime value. So when you engage with experiential benefits, you are providing for that client something that will generate an additional bonding, and it's not linked to only just sales and all that. So you're creating, it's kind of like an insurance, that a guarantee that your client will keep on coming. You literally measure it through lifetime value and engagement through your brand. So he will start, if he's already posting on social networks on your brand and he's an advocate, he probably will increase his posts and be a bigger, a stronger advocate. He will probably also provide you with very qualitative feedback and all that. So it's a whole ecosystem, and focusing on the relational and the emotional that you can generate through a loyalty program is, I think, something that is very powerful and to unleash.
Okay. Last question. In your opinion, what are the best loyalty programs out there? They didn't specify geographic area. We have attendees from 12 different countries. I guess it could be around the world. Or U.S., April, and France, Constance.
Yeah, so I mean, from my perspective, I'm sure we're all airline regulars, and so I'm a huge fan of airline loyalty programs in the way that they're able to execute all of the 3 different pillars and really attack that way. I think that is one sub-industry, that has really put a ton of attention and actually look at programs in a very quantitative way, as well as the best way to interact and engage and continue to retain customers. So that's my perspective. I'm not going to name a specific airline, but I love airline loyalty programs specifically. What about you, Constance?
Yeah, I agree. Airline programs are very interesting in the way they're done. There's a couple of other loyalty programs. I will not name Sephora, but I will name Deleuze, which is a Belgian grocery retailer that has a very interesting way of merging his CSR, his loyalty program. And another one, which is H&M, that has a loyalty program that values customer engagement and really gives points and bonuses for that. I think that's a very interesting way to make sure that your brand, you have lots of brand advocates and your brand goes viral. So definitely H&M and Deleuze.
Excellent. And interestingly enough, we have 2 or 3 attendees from Belgium. I'm sure they can relate to your response. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of the questions. I want to thank both of you. April, excellent job. Constance, merci beaucoup. That was a great deep dive into loyalty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And to contact April and Constance, their contact information is on the screen. You can email them or call them, and I'm sure that they'd be willing to further the conversation of loyalty. Thank you both again.
Thank you.
Of course.